All right, so welcome. This is Prosper in Your Story, a free module for you to turn your idea, your testimony, your journal, your classroom project, or a children's story into a real published book. By the grace of God, I've been able to help publish 6 books between actually 7 books between two of my own, my daughter's books, and my students. So just to give you a quick overview on my story, I started with a story, a burden to help people finish, and the decision to learn the process one step at a time. So that's what we're going to go through. Throughout this process, I'll also show you live how to work and manage KDP. KDP is the Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing platform that allows you to become a publisher. It's one of the great things about Amazon that I love, in that it literally allows for anyone to become an author for free. Very similar to how people are becoming podcasters for free, how people are filmmaking for free. Amazon provides that service. So as I mentioned, I've been blessed to publish 2 books on my own. One is a Bible in a year guide that helps people navigate through the Bible one day at a time, and then another is an ABC tracing workbook for kids to learn how to navigate and learn memory Bible verses as well. My 7-year-old daughter just became an author, which reminded me that simple steps can allow for anyone to create a real author moment. She had an idea to write this book about a flying squirrel and a hamster, and it has a really good moral ending at the end. So make sure you search Raya Ricks at Amazon, RYA Ricks, and you'll see her book published there. And then God allowed me to bless 5 students who published 4 books. There was a co-writing book for 2 students. They co-wrote a book, and one of our students actually illustrated the cover. And watching young writers go through the process, it just allows for them to see themselves differently, right? Imagine being 11 or 12 years old and seeing that, wow, I've been able to publish a book. I have a real ISBN number, which is that international book publishing number that sets you apart as an author. And watching their work come to life, it's just a different kind of feeling. And I truly feel called that God is calling me to allow for more people to know that this is available. It's available to everyone that has internet access, everyone that has an idea. So the book is never meant to be the hard part. If God placed a book in your heart or in your mind, it is up to us to be able to deliver that. And my husband is like the perfect example of that. I talk about my book here, right? How I needed a clear plan that helped me. My daughter needed the simple steps. My students needed the roadmap. But really, I always look to my husband. He's my true inspiration because God gave him his book idea in a dream. And he woke up and he's like, I have to write this book. I don't know where to start. I've never been an author before. And he went through the process of hiring a publisher, paying them, I think like hundreds of dollars, maybe like $500, maybe even $1,000 in order to get his book published. And I was able to identify the ways that, we can all do it ourselves. But that's where this prospering your story method came from, just seeing what he went through, but then understanding as I, have worked at Amazon corporate in the past, I knew that this was a process and I wanted to be able to share this with so many other people to get those books out. So if you have a story in your heart, in your mind, maybe you have a ton of poems that you need to put together into a book format, there are people that need what you have. Maybe you have, just all of the everything that people need from a therapy perspective, right? What you need, what you have inside of you is exactly what God has called you to do. And that story needs to be put out. So the fact that you're watching this is just one step further into what God has called you to do. So when someone shifts become when someone becomes an author, something shifts, right? Imagine, you literally are able to add that additional piece of credential to your to you as a person, as a human being. You build that confidence, right? Now you are an author, you are a published author, you have that public work. A book also, is a legacy. It's a piece of legacy that literally lives on after years upon years after we have gone on. And what's great about a book is that it can support so much because it is a paid publishing path. You write it once, you publish it once, and it can continue to collect residuals and continue to collect in income passively, right? We really don't have to do much, and people are just looking for what we have to offer. That's really why becoming an author matters so much. Especially in this day and time when so many people are consumed by screens, there's never been a more important time ever than we need more and more books and more authors. So this is not an oversaturated market. It's right on time. It's exactly what we all need. Now, one of the promises that I feel that God is calling me to do is by the end of this training, and this is, a free seminar. I won't be able to get through everything, but I'm going to give you so much that you'll feel like you can accomplish anything. But, if at the end you're like, hey, Letitia, I just feel like I can't do this alone, don't worry. I do have some options that I can help you and guide you after this free training is done. But by the end, either way, you're going to feel like your book is possible. Not someday, not when life slows down, but it's possible once you have a repeatable plan. At least by the end of this training, you'll be able to see the path. You'll be able to know the type of book you want to create. You'll be able to understand the map and the story. You'll be able to draft out the pages, digitize the file, publish it through KDP. And I promise you, especially if you kind of are tech savvy, it is extremely easy to do. Again, if you're not tech savvy, that's where I come in. I do offer this to people that want to publish their book. They have it all done and they just need it. They just need to get it across the finish line. By the end of this training, you're going to know the standard, right? So many people are like, okay, well, what do I need, right? I want to do this, but how many do I need? A ton of pages, right? So on KDP, you really only need 26 pages to publish a book, right? And it will be a published work. It'll be what people need. I have some of my students have written books that span from 26 pages to 150 pages. And the longest book that I have right now is exactly 371 pages because it has a different Bible verse for every single day, or has a different Bible reading structure for every day of the year. But it literally does not have to be a lot, right? It's more about the substance than the quantity. Quality absolutely over quality. And then you'll be invited. After this call, I will invite you to be a part of the publisher collective. So for people that are looking to publish their book, if you want support, templates, accountability, publishing help, there is a next step that's possible for you if you want more at the end. But either way, you're going to be confident and excited about what next steps look like. Now, as I mentioned, publishing books are not oversaturated. It's the unfinished books that are oversaturated. There are so many stories that have never been published, that have never been written, right? There are probably so many ideas that people are sitting on that they don't even realize how impactful it would be to somebody, right? And it doesn't need to be something, super philosophical. Imagine if you have, 50 poems that a woman can read to identify with and understand, love and relationships and goodness, right? Or maybe it's a children's book that children are absolutely needing in this era, in this generation. Or maybe it's a self-help book that people are needing. There's so many things that people need. There's no way that publishing books could ever be oversaturated. Your story becomes different because of the fact that you are unique. It's your voice, it's your audience, it is your God-given assignment. Now, here's the thing that I want everyone to say out loud. Open your mouth. I don't need to hear you. I want you to say it out loud. AI is my friend. I am not afraid of AI. And the reason why I want us to say this out loud is because there are so many people, there's like an entire generation that wants to believe that AI is the worst thing that's happening, that AI is horrible, it's bad. Now, trust me, there are ways that AI is used very, very, very incorrectly. And then there are ways that AI is used in very good ways. And one of those ways are in making things accessible, making things easier, streamlining things, becoming an assistant to us all, right? I love the analogy of the way that people think of AI is kind of like how candle makers thought of the light bulb, right? They were thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to put candle making business out of business, right? Not even understanding how much more business it'll be because now lighting is more accessible. Now more and more people are able to have lighting. More and more people have jobs using lighting, right? It becomes a even better asset than candles were, right? Candles are the old school, but light bulbs are the future. And that is how we have to think of AI. We have to think of it as a way that is the future and will take us into the future. I've used AI to help me, not to be the brain. Absolutely not to be the brain. This is your creation. What we are writing is not an AI produced thing, right? But it could help us in our structures, it can help us in the flow, it can help us put the things together. So it kind of be like an assistant, right? I think of my AI completely as my assistant. And the goal again is not to write everything, it's to write the next page. One of the things that I taught my students is, this was a 12-week project for them. They didn't have to complete it all in week 1, even though a lot of my students wanted to. They saw that they had time to just be able to create one page at a time, right? Do it one page at a time. And maybe you have a finished work, right? Maybe it's just getting out of your own head. Maybe it's editing, maybe it's formatting, whatever that is. It's literally just to go one step at a time. Now, what I learned when I started doing this is that, that building books is real life, right? It's a personal proof. That means that I'm able to show you guys that this is something that is repeatable, right? Not only for adults, for children, for elders, for anyone, for people that are disabled. We all have a story that is extremely, extremely unique and that will allow for others to be able to resonate from, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, helpful, funny, comedic, horror, right? My students have written books that span from a historical mystery to science fiction comedy. And it just goes to show you that books have such a way of being able to connect with so many, just a vast amount of people. There are 8 billion people in this world. Even if we were able to touch on a fraction of that, it will allow for us to tell our story and get our story across to so many and impact so many. So your ideas, right? And you think about the problem that we all have when we're thinking about our book, right? Our ideas without structure, they just stay in ideas. But when we are able to get them out, we're able to put them in a book, and that book becomes that container for our ideas instead of in our mind, right? We're able to understand how to create a target. Who is our audience that we're speaking to? What is our story map look like, right? If we don't have a finished work, right? But even deeper, let's say we do have that finished work, right? What is a publishing checklist to make sure, okay, I have everything I need in order to get this from my Google Doc and into my physical hands, which becomes so fulfilling when it's all done. And then you have that accountability where it's, you're no longer saying, oh, next year I'll do it, next year I'll publish it, next year. Nope. My husband always says, do it now. Do it now. When you do it now, you feel so much more accomplished when it is completely done. So this is my prayer and goal, that I can help you to do it now. Now, here is the published author framework that I've used for my students in order to make sure that they get to become a published author, right? It's really these four pieces. One, you need to make sure that you have that story, right? And that might take time. If you've already gotten your story together, kudos. Everything that you've done is great. Now, that means listing out, if you don't have it already done, who's your target? Who are your characters? What is the setting if you're having a fictional story? If it's more of a poetry book, what is the flow of your poetry book? What is how do you want it structured so that it does have a theme or story? Is it a devotional book? What do you want to have that as? So as you are thinking about this, if you don't already have your story, one of the things that I'll send you guys at the end of this is a workbook that I put together, so you can start to think about, okay, what kind of book do I want to create? Who is my audience? Who are my characters? What does this look like? Because the second thing in this 4P system is the structure. You want to be able to have a page by page outline that tells you exactly what belongs where. Okay, here's my beginning, here's my middle, here's my end. This is what I want. And this is, a project that I did with my with my students, right? We went through that 12-week process. Every single week was a new task. It was a new task that we were accomplishing. It was writing out your story map, putting out every single thing that would go on your 26-page book, if at least you wanted to have 26 pages. Now, if you already have a finished work, this is where that proofreading, that editing, revising comes into play to ensure that it has that structure, so that it is a book that others are recommending to more people. One of the fastest ways that books become on these bestseller lists are by word of mouth, right? There are people that pay tens of thousands of dollars to get on those New York bestseller lists, but the true ones that become very widely known, or even not even widely known, more impactful, are by word of mouth. And having that structure helps us to do that. And then the third thing is their system. Is after you have that structure, okay, what is the system? What is the weekly production path that I need in order to write, revise, format, and upload and get it out the door, right? And if you've already have it done, okay, what's the system that I need to ensure that my structure is right, that I have all of my assets to get it out of the door and into the hands of those people that absolutely need this book. And then finally, it's that storefront. It's the KDP. And again, KDP stands for Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing. Your setup. So making sure that you have your cover image, right? If you want to use AI to create a cover for you, or if you want to hire an illustrator, again, you can use both. So many people have used both, and both are 100% okay. What are some categories you want to make sure that your book shows up in? What are some keywords that you want to make sure that people are entering into Amazon and using? Amazon is able to access billions of people around the world. So getting your book into Amazon is just one of the many ways to start that publishing journey. And then again, you get a free ISBN number. I can't stress this enough, how amazing of a blessing it is that Amazon KDP exists. Now, there are some downfalls with Amazon KDP that I want to address. Now, people call them downfalls. I still look at it as a blessing, because again, there's zero out-of-pocket costs, right? A lot of other publishing companies do not have this. They do not have zero publishing costs. And the way that Amazon is able to do this is because they pay you a royalty. So by being the publisher, they are paying the authors royalties for every time that you sell your book. The difference between that is the cost. So essentially, Amazon takes all of their money for listing your book, for publishing your book, giving you your ISBN number, and printing your book, right? Those are the main four aspects that the price comes from. And then the rest, you get to set. You can say however much money you want to rate your book at. And I'm going to walk through exactly how to do this at the end of the call in a second as well. And you can price it however you want so that you can determine how much money at the end of the day you want to make from a royalty perspective, because that's the most important aspect, right? Yes, we want to become published authors, but the real goal in creating legacy and creating prosperity and creating residual income is by that pricing and royalties. Now, again, when we're thinking about structure, right, and we're thinking about those 4 S's, and specifically, we want to first think about, okay, what kind of book do we want to write? What kind of book do we want to launch? If you already have your, repertoire of ideas in your mind, think about these 3, especially as you're starting, right? Maybe it's a picture book of some kind. It doesn't have to be children's. It's just some ideas. So you want to think about the text, the illustrations, ensuring that it has a clear middle and beginning, but also, beginning, middle, and end, but also a moral. A lot of children's books, the successful ones, have a really good moral at the end that teaches a lesson for our student or our children and students. And then you want to think about if you want to do something more nonfiction, more with what they call low content, where it's more of like a journal with prompts and different types of action items. So at the end of this, I'll share a link to the ebook that I have, which is it is a journal on how to get your book published, and it has everything that you need there. And then the other thing you can think about is like a workbook or a guide, or maybe even a deeper book that will allow you to understand how you can contain all of those ideas that you have. It could be some other ideas here. A poetry book, a self-help book. It can be a fiction novel, right? Whatever it is that you're thinking about, you'll want to just really finally get those ideas out and published. The one thing that you'll want to make sure that you're checking, and this is where, having an advocate, having a group that can support is helpful, is really making sure, you're making sure that your title isn't already copyrighted somewhere, that any works that you're including in your book, that you're citing them. You kind of think about those days back in high school and college, if you ever had to write a paper and you had to cite your work. The same is true if you're writing any type of nonfiction book and you're using any type of content. So for example, when I did the Bible in a Year guide, I had to, not even a Bible in a Year guide, it was the children's workbook. I had to cite all of the different versions of the Bible that I used in my copyright page, so that they knew, like, I wasn't taking credit for Psalm 23, the New International Version. I was, still citing that work. And that's really important as you're, thinking about these specific things. Now, a real book can start to really be complete when you have, that 26-page standard. So you have your front matter, so having your cover, your title, your copyright page, and your dedication. This is what I, made sure my students had for all of their books. You have that core content. You have your story. You have any teaching or prompts or lessons or sessions, reflections, or any activities. That's your core content. Again, it can go beyond 26 pages, but all you need are really 26 pages to publish a book on Amazon KDP. And then you want to make sure that you have an author close, a back cover that's really, enticing your reader to know, why should they get your book? Why should they get your book above the others? And then you want to be able to tell your story. Who are you? What makes you you? And how do you identify with the reader, especially understanding who they are? And then we want to use a story map before the blank page can bully you. We want to make sure that we are thinking about the story that we're creating, especially if you're creating a fiction story, or even, some type of workbook. Who is either the main character of your story, or who do you want to target in that's going to be using your workbook? If you're writing a fiction story, where's the setting, the context, the season or situation? And if you're writing like a workbook or a self-help book, where is that person at in their life and in their journey? If you're writing a fiction book, what is the problem that that main character is facing, right? What's going to draw them in? What's that plot that's going to really draw the reader in to kind of figuring out and keeping them hooked, right? That they might identify with, that they might be on their side, or be the protagonist. And then if you're creating that self-help book or that poetry book, right, what is the problem of the reader that they are going to identify in your book and need your book, right? What problem are they facing in life that your book is going to be a resource for them? And then you want to start thinking about those events, the first, next, then after events is going to be that's going to set the stage for how your book flows, right? What that structure looks like. And then for that nonfiction or self-help book, what are the events that you want that person to go through, the experience that they should be going to from start to finish, that's going to help them go from literally A to B, to that final state that your book will help them to be in. Again, whether it is a self-help book, a poetry book, or a workbook, whatever the case may be. And then finally, of course, all good books should have a great ending. How does the story resolve? How does the reader win at the end? How should they feel at the end? What are your goals there? And then again, we really don't want the story to dump all in one page. Just creating that structure is such a complete reading experience for the reader every time. Um, Now, I want to emphasize, right, especially when I spoke to my students about this, rough drafts are so important because it allows you to really have those messy ideas, to brainstorm with other authors, to think through different ideas and thoughts and just brain dump, right? This is really where books are born, where books get good, where they really are able to mold and shape. I think about when my daughter and I were writing her book about her hamster and a flying squirrel, and we were able to brain dump in the beginning, and she really wanted to talk about how this hamster was just not cute, and how there was a snake that came up, and it was in that brain dumping that we realized, okay, we need to have a moral of the story. We need it to circle back to that looks are not everything. So, and we were able to do that, but getting to that end point require us to have that brain dump in the beginning, right? And then really thinking about those edits last, right? Edits come last, especially if you already have a finished work. That's where you are able to really focus on the edits, the capitalization, the punctuations, all of that, all of those things, and then understanding the order and formatting of your book. And then lastly, really illustrate with intention. This is one of the great things that I love about both options, either identifying an illustrator that you can work with, that you can partner with. Now, the thing with illustrators that they may work in two different ways. They may be willing to take a lump fee in the beginning, or they may request to receive some of those royalties. So just something to think about when hiring an illustrator. But a lot of times people like, having that human touch when it comes to creating their work. And then I have some of my students that have used AI for the covers of their books. I've used AI for the cover of my books as well. And, and being able to be extremely detail oriented and saying and intentional with what I want, the reader to feel when they see my book has been super helpful when using AI to help illustrate the cover specifically of the book. Now, digitizing is where the project becomes publishable. So, handwritten pages, drawings, slides, Canva layouts, these are great. Do not get rid of them. I'm actually working on a book that my mom, me, and my sister wrote about 30 years ago in a book publishing event with my elementary school. And we hand wrote this book. But again, this is where I'm talking about the use of AI, right? I'm able to take the picture of these handwritings and I'm able to ask AI to digitize that drawing, right? We're not making it look different at all, even though you can ask for AI to make it look like a cartoon. You can make AI do a lot of really cool and fun things, but we want to keep it as close to the original drawing as possible, and that is 100% possible with AI. So you can capture it, you can organize it. We want to make sure that we format and trim it based on the dimensions in Amazon KDP, which I will show you in a bit, and then uploading. And the beauty of Amazon KDP is that um, if your book is formatted 100% perfectly, um, it is able to be available on Amazon within 72 hours. That is in 3 days. You can upload your book on a Monday and it becomes available for sale by Friday, which is incredible. And that is something to think about though, because the trim size has to be perfect. The margins has to be perfect. The bleed has to be perfect. And the trim dimensions have to be perfect. Amazon KDP does not let everything come across. There have been times that it's taken me about 14 different times to upload and reformat, right? So what was supposed to take 3 days actually ended up taking 2 weeks because it wasn't formatted perfectly. But when a book is formatted perfectly, it can take anywhere between literally 2 to 3 days and it will be uploaded ready for purchases immediately. And what's great about Amazon KDP is that it's available not only for purchase, but it's available on Amazon Prime. So what's cool is that you can be on that and then immediately you can start making sales. All right. So this is what Amazon KDP looks like. As you can see, it asks for very clear publishing choices. Now, again, if you look closely, as I mentioned, you get a free KDP ISBN number, or you can bring your own. There are some people that purchase their own ISBN number, and that might actually change how the costs are in Amazon and what's taken out. You can also choose what kind of interior you want for your book. So, because most of my students and well, no, I've been able to publish all these different types, with the exception of the groundwood paper. I have some students that have written chapter books, so they are white, black and white with white paper, or even cream paper because those are most cost effective. But I've also had students that have done premium color interior with white paper, and then there's also standard color interior. So you choose your interior, then you choose your paper type and your trim size and your bleed and your cover finish. This is really what sets the price, right? This is what sets the price because like I said, a color interior is going to be more expensive than a black and white interior because of the simple fact that it is it's color. So it's going to cost more. If you have premium I believe the white paper is more expensive than the cream paper as well. And then if you have a bigger size book, so I have an 8.5 by 11 coloring book, and then my daughter has a 8.5 by 5.5 color book. And then I have some students that have a chapter book that's 8.5 by 5, but it's black and white on the inside. And believe it or not, the chapter book, even though it's 105 pages, is the cheapest of all. It probably costs $2 to make and print. So we're able to set a price of anything over $5 in order to start making residuals from that book. And then once you upload the manuscript, you'll be able to, and it matches all of your selections, then you'll be able to see that pricing. So we'll use the last 15 minutes to go through that. So another thing that Amazon KDP does is you can upload all of the information of your book. And this is how you're able to create the cover of your book. Now, Amazon KDP does this cool thing where you can just very easily design a cover of your book. So, for this book, this is so you choose these, right? You can either choose paperback or hardback. You can choose the interior type here. You can choose your paper type here. You choose your reading direction, which here in the United States, of course, is left to right. And then your measurement units, which we will do inches. Here's a smaller book, like a chapter book, which is 5.5 by 8.5 inches, and then you put your page count. This is what sets and will give you the dimensions for the cover and the back of your book. This is kind of one of the most trickiest part, especially if you want a very unique cover and back of your book, or if you already have a design cover and back of your book and you need to upload it perfectly to be able to be approved for Amazon KDP, you'll want to follow these specifications perfectly. And one of the things that helps me is Canva and AI. I'm able to download this template once they give me all of these dimensions here. I download this template, upload it either into Canva and I design it there myself, or I'll upload it into into ChatGPT or Gemini, describe what I want in very, very, very detail, and it will give me the exact layout for the cover of my book. So this is kind of where, it gets the most trickiest in terms of formatting a book, but it's absolutely not impossible. It's totally possible. Now, once you are finished with your cover, your AI disclosure, and your preview matter, then you're able to then you're able to launch your preview. Now, like I said, I'm gonna do a live demonstration so that you can see this and you can see exactly what to expect. It will ask you if things are AI generated. You are more than welcome to be 100% honest here. It does not hinder anything if you use AI to help write, your table of contents or to design the cover. It will just allow them to know, and then you're able to specify. And again, I'll show you what that looks like in a second. Now, you are also able to upload categories, so you can put the different types of categories that your book is in so that it shows up in different places. And then you're able to upload lots of different keywords so that people can find your book. A lot of the times, the books is the keywords that you put in is also useful within your description that you put. So there are things that are needed and recommended when you're doing this. But again, if you need help, I'm definitely here too, and that workbook will help guide you as well. Now, your finished book is going to need a release plan. So you can either publish, use your publication date and your release date being the same date. So that can be that exact date. If you already have a book that was published somewhere else and maybe, you want to get it on Amazon KDP, you can list that it was already published somewhere. This would be for someone that already has an ISBN. It's already somewhere else. You don't want to spend any more money, publishing elsewhere, but you want to do it here. After your submission, like I said, it can take up to 72 hours, but during that time, your edits are locked. You won't be able to make any changes during that time, but you are able to, if you are able to identify any changes, you can actually start the process again. You can start the process again and create a whole new book, upload your new manuscript, and then you can delete completely the one that is being reviewed. That means that it will restart your 72-hour clock, but at least you can catch it before Amazon completely before they pause it and say that, hey, we reviewed it, we're denying this, you need to make these edits, and you're stuck with that 14-day review process like I mentioned earlier. Now, when you have a production calendar, I do highly, highly, highly recommend this because it helps, just making sure that you have your book type, you have your title, you have your story map, you have your sequence board. But if you already have your published work, that's, puts you in a better position. Is really about editing, finalizing, and really getting out of your own mind and out of your own way. That's kind of the biggest thing for a lot of us that already have the finished work, and we're like, okay, I'm gonna do it. It's finally time. I just, either need a support system or you need a professional to help. And that's what I believe God has called me to help do. So I'm here to help, be your accountability partner, be whatever you need to make sure that your book gets across the finish line. Those next 4 to 8 weeks for those that have not published their book yet or have not started yet is really for page planning, for rough drafting, and for completing the book and then finalizing with those illustrations. And then you're really thinking about those finite details, making, understanding how you've become the author that you are in the last 8 weeks. What, writing that about you as an author, putting those final revisions, having it reviewed by the professional or a book writer is super, super helpful. And then creating that digital formatting and making sure that it's ready for KDP publishing, and most importantly, a celebration. I genuinely believe that every author should have some type of, book signing. Even it doesn't have to be large, it doesn't have to be major, but something that allows for people to understand, the reasoning for the book, why, it exists, and who will benefit from it. But it's really, really important to have that calendar, have that structure when it comes to creating your book. Now, these are the traps that make a simple book feel hard. Again, like I said, it's that trim size, right? It's using that AI output without editing it into your own voice. Please do not just let AI write for you. You have a voice that is extremely unique. Everybody is using AI. So it's important that we use AI simply as an assistant to assist with anything that we need, that we absolutely cannot do. I am not an author. I'm not an illustrator, rather. I am not an illustrator, but AI has helped me tremendously to be able to create covers, um, ignoring margins and bleeds and dimensions. This is where, you know, Amazon KDP will kick back anything that needs to be reformatted that could take, make those delays longer. And then publishing without previewing every single page is so, so, so critical. Now, again, with the Publish with Purpose Collective, there are 3 ways that, we can continue this after this call. You can have that structure. So like I said, after the call, I'll send everyone that has registered for this or been watching this, that 12-week roadmap with page by page milestones so that you can start to take your book out of your mind and into your hands. And then for those that already have their book, just need to really get it out into the world, I provide that support. So that live guidance, reviews, accountability, and those publishing checklists. And then there are people that just need systems like, hey, just take this from me, do it for me. And I do have a done for you system that I'll just take everything, I'll do it for you, no worries at all. And at the end of at least 14 days, you'll be a published author with everything. So like I said, inside of the collective, you'll get that book blueprint, and you'll get that creation support, you'll get that publishing support, you'll get launch support, as well as confidence support, because that is so critical and so so important. And then so I will share all of this with you guys at the end. I do want to show you all KDP. So let me just stop sharing for one quick moment, just so that I can show what Amazon KDP looks like. And the beauty of Amazon KDP is that if you already have an Amazon account, when you go to when you go to kdp.amazon.com, you would log in with your existing Amazon information. Everything is already there. You don't really need to do um, much else for that. So let me just go ahead and show you what that looks like. Let's see, I'm going to sign out here. Going to sign into here and I will share my screen. Okay. So when you create an Amazon KDP account, um, the most important thing to know is that you'll um, have to create an account and you'll have to upload your banking information. You'll have to verify your identity because they're paying you money, right? You're going to receive royalties. So it's almost like, it's almost like filing paperwork for like a job, right? Instead of filling out a W-4 and an I-9, you have to fill out a W-9 because now you're an entrepreneur. You are able to collect income as a self-employed person. That is essentially what you're doing with Amazon KDP. So you have to upload your ID, you have to give them your bank account information because every 3 months they send you royalties. That's when your royalties come. They come in bulks of every 3 months. So what you're looking at here is the main screen, your bookshelf, so to speak. So when you're going to start your book, you would go to create new title or series here. And then when you click here, you are able to essentially choose the kind of book you want to create. You can create a Kindle ebook, you can create a paperback book, or you can create a hardcover book, or you can even start a series page and collect books together and build a single Amazon series page. So definitely this would be, after you have a couple books under your belt, or if you're ready to create a series. Here, I always recommend starting with your paperback and then expanding to Kindle ebooks and then expanding to hardcover. Now, hardcover gets a little tricky because you do need at least I forget the number. I think it's 75 pages for hardcover books. But paperback, again, you only need 26 to get started there. So I'll show you a book that I already have published just so that you can see some of them and just the assets that are included. So this is a book that one of my students wrote. It's already available on Amazon. This is actually my daughter's book, which is live now. The Adventures of Fireball, the Hamster, and Chip the Flying Squirrel. And this is what it will look like when it's live. You can see the price. You can see all of the different places around the world that the book is available. So my little 7-year-old daughter's book is available in Japan, in Australia, in Italy. It is such a blessing to be able to have this available. Now, for Hudson here, I'm just going to go to continue setup, but you would follow that initial things and go to create, but everything will be here. So you will go to, it'll take you to this first page where you would upload your information. So the main assets that you will need is a book title. You want to make sure if you want to add a subtitle, you can. If it's a part of that series that we saw before, you would plug it into the series that you're doing here. Edition number, I always say, hey, forget about that. You don't need to put that. But this, most important, your author name. And then you want to make sure that you have a description that includes a lot of keywords. This is really, really important. And this is where AI can also help, put together a summary of what your book is about so that people are searching can find your book. Because if you search on Amazon, and I'll show you right now just super quickly, if you were to search on Amazon, Bible tracing for toddlers coloring book, I'm going to do scriptures too. My coloring book, by the grace of God, is the fourth thing to show up here because I have a lot of keywords that are in this book. So highly recommend, help asking AI to help you with, putting the description so that you can get a lot of different people that are searching for your book there. Now, you always want to say that you own the copyrights because you will, and that you have that. Um, Otherwise, you'll want to indicate that it is a public domain and that, or whatever the case may be. This is very unlikely that you would be publishing a public domain work, but you want to make sure that you do own the copyrights. Um, you'll want to indicate who your primary audience is, your reading age, and then who you want your primary marketplace to be, which usually here in the United States would be Amazon.com. Here's where you can choose your categories. So for this specific book, I have it's for teens, young adults, science fiction, fantasy, but you can edit this to whatever you'd like. So when you go to add a category here, you'll see all of the different categories that you can choose from. You can create a photography book, a biography book, books about money, children's book, graphic novels, computer tech, food, cookbooks, teaching books, engineering books, fiction books, history books, you name it. And then let's just say, right, I'm just going to choose computer technologies. There are so many subcore categories that come from it. Okay. This is why there's no such thing as oversaturation when it comes to creating books, because there are literally thousands and thousands of different types of genres of books. Here, there's even placements within those subcategories. So specifically for this one, you've got a whole additional layer here. So, and you can add up to 3 different types of niches. You can also choose general if you don't have, a specific sub niche from a subcategory. You can always do that. So, you would also want to choose your category. You would choose that their publication date and release date are the same. I would also always recommend releasing your book for sale right now as opposed to scheduling your release. But you can also schedule your release. That's 100% fine. Let's say you wanted to launch it for on a specific date, you can do that. That's not a problem. The only thing is that it's not available for pre-orders. That's not what this would do. You would still have to publish it specifically on Amazon KDP in order for it to for you to begin earning sales from it. Now, once you've had all of that information, I'm sorry. Let me just update this back to release my book for sale now. And then I'll save and continue here. So here's the great thing, like I said about Amazon KDP, is that you can get a free KDP ISBN number. And here, Amazon's already given that, which means that it is independently published. Otherwise, you can purchase your ISBN number, and then you can use it here. You'll want to indicate who your publisher was that helped you get that, but otherwise you can get a free one from Amazon. And then, like I said, you'll be able to choose the different types of paper. This is going to be how your printing cost is calculated. You'll determine your trim size of your book. So this is really critical, just to make sure the margins of your book, of your cover, and all of your pages are in sync. There are lots of different trim cuts here. So you can make like a 6x9 book, an 8x5 book, but you can also make like paper paper size books as well, like coloring sizes and larger books. They also have some non-standard trim sizes as well. I highly recommend staying closer to the popular trim sizes because it allows for you to get your book approved faster. You don't want those denials. Like I said, those denials definitely reduce your publication timing. And then you can also choose the type of paperback finish you want to have. So my coloring book, of course, is matte, but my daughter's fiction book, I did glossy pages because it just has a nicer finish on the inside. A few of my students, the ones that did coloring or more fiction books, they have glossy pages. But then I have students that made the fiction pages, and those, of course, are matte. So thinking about the kind of book that you want to write will also require some research, right? Look into seeing books, go to the library, go to the bookstore, see what other books exist in the genre that you want to write, and see what kind of pages they have. Do they have matte pages? Do they have glossy pages? Do they have color inserts? Can you do a black and white? Because like I said, it'll determine your price. Now you'll also want, here is where you'll upload your manuscript. So your manuscript is the inside of your book, from the copyright page to the about the author inside of the book cover. Okay, so everything that's inside of the book cover is the manuscript. And you'll want to make sure that it's in, PDF, a doc file, HTML, or RTF. And then you can review the checklist, but I'll show you that in a second and what you're going to be looking for. Now, here is where you can either upload a cover that you already have. So in the presentation, I showed you guys how you can you can use those dimensions. You would click here to do the cover calculator, and that's where you would select all of the different types of your book. So whether it's a hard copy, is the interior black and white, or is it color? What type of paper are you having? So for premium color, it has to be white paper, but the minute that you switch to a black and white interior, then your paper type switches to either white or cream paper. It switches from white to cream paper here. But when you go to paperback, you have a lot of different options here. You can either do black and white in your paperback, you can do premium color, or you can do standard color. And then you'll see that your paper color, especially for black and white, changes. So now you can either do white paper, cream paper, or ground wood paper. So for this case, we're going to keep our costs really low. We're going to do paperback, black and white paper. Reading type is left to right. Measurement units is in inches. We did the interior trim size as 5.5 by 8.5, and then our total was 25. And then after you've been put in all of that information, you would click calculate dimensions, and it will pull up the layout. And then here's where you can download that template. It'll give it to you in both a PDF form and an image. So when you open up this file, you can then open it in either a PDF or a let's see here. You can open it up in either a PDF or a PNG image. So I'll show you what it looks like. So this is what it will look like. It would give you this template. You can either upload it into ChatGPT and tell it exactly what you want it to do, how you want it to follow these dimensions, or you can upload it into Canva and design it perfectly. Again, it has to be perfect, or else Amazon will deny it if it's even a quarter of a millimeter rather, out of these dimensions. So it's so critical to follow these templates. So going back here, once you've uploaded your cover, let me show you this, because they do have a cover creator that is very easy to use. So if you go to the cover creator, you can get this. And And this will allow for you to just very easily choose a design, style and edit it, and then you can preview it. So you can either select an image from your gallery or upload something from the computer, or you can skip that step completely. And then here's how you would do it. See how it already takes the name of the book? I didn't type anything in. It takes the name of the book, it takes the back of the book, and then you can start to arrange it. So you can change this. You can do a different type of font here. You can change the color of it, but it already has all of the information in it so that you don't have to upload it to anything differently. Now, there are some things that you can change if you wanted to upload this, upload a different picture here, or if you wanted to change this text style, you totally can. So this is 100% available. If you did not want to have something custom, and have that custom cover and back for your book. So in this case, we're going to go with the upload that we already had. I'm going to go ahead and just quickly upload this book back. Okay. So right now, this is just for example purposes. But once you have everything completed and uploaded, you would indicate whether it's AI generated, you would verify that information, and then you would launch your previewer. Now, your previewer is going to tell you if everything is aligned, how everything looks, and show you what to do in your next steps. And you'll have to excuse my little son who just woke up from his nap. But it'll show you how everything looks and if it's ready for printing so that you can approve it. Otherwise, it will show you any errors that need to be changed before it can be published for your as a next step. So let's see. So as you can see, this is giving an error, but this is just for example purposes. And it won't even let you approve this book until it's perfect. But once you have it, you can upload everything here and it'll be good to go. Once everything's good. So you would go and exit out of the previewer. I'm just gonna go back to my bookshelf without saving anything to show you. Let's see. I want to save the right manuscript that he has. Download the latest cover file. So this is what I love about, they keep all of your things here. So this is actually his correct information. Okay. So yes, baby. Is everything okay? Okay, so back to the paperback settings. Let's see, continue. We're gonna upload his the correct cover so that you can see what happened when
Mommy.
Yes. Okay.
Oh no.
Can you go over there and listen to it?
I want to listen.
There you go. But you have to listen over there, okay? Go listen over there. Go listen on the couch. Uh-oh. So I think what I'll do, let's do this instead. We'll do the cover creator so that you can see exactly how it'll price your book. We'll choose this design. That's okay. We're going to click save. We're not going to publish this, so it's again just for example purposes.
Uncle, take a deep breath with me.
I couldn't find my crayon, so I have to use paint, but I don't like to paint because the paint always gets out of the line.
So you just want to click all of the placeholders and make sure that they're either empty or filled, and you'll see there's so many things that you can choose when it comes to these things.
Thank you. Hey, let me get more paper.
See if it'll let me save this.
What's this? Oh.
I'm gonna go.
What is it, Chase? I'm starving. Can we get something to eat?
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. I'm hungry too.
You guys are right. Rescuing all day works up an appetite. My tummy just growled. I think we should get some.
I'm gonna choose from.
Well, we need to find a key.
Oh, you go there and I go here.
Save,
Let's play a game first.
review.
Right?
Save and submit. And again, we're not publishing this, just for example purposes. So once all of that is done, you'll be able to then launch your previewer, where it'll show you that it's preparing your files. And this might take a minute depending on how large your images are in your book or how many pages that you have. But now you'll see that it's done a quality check. It'll actually let you approve it because everything is consistent with the margins and all of the spacing. You can then go through the book. You see how it has this little line? This is why margins are so important with your manuscript too. You'll want to make sure that it has at least a 1 inch margin around the book. So if your book is 8.5 by 5.5, you want to make sure that as you're printing it, it has a 1 inch margin. And then you would go and approve it. Once it's approved, then it'll show you the cost of how much it costs to make your book. And when it says cost, it means printing cost. So this book, this 36-page book with no bleed, it's matte, it's black and white interior with white paper, is $2.30 per book. This is what People pay for this book. That's how much it pays, and that's how much it costs to print the book. So anything that you make requires that. Now, I always recommend, I would not recommend getting a book proof of your book unless you absolutely want to check for any printing errors. If you do get this book, it's very important to note that it does have a big line in front of the book that says proof. Like it's a big line in front of it. So it's not like, it's definitely only for proofing purposes, nothing else. And this you can get immediately. You don't have to wait for approval for this. It's just so that you can see it. So if you're not ready to publish your book and post it live, this would be a great way to do it. And then you can request the book, put in your cart, buy the proof. Otherwise, you can always publish the book. If you notice any errors, you can pause the book from it being live, and then you can upload the corrected manuscript at any point in time. So once you've seen that, this is the most critical part of this process. Once you have, gotten all of your once you've uploaded your manuscript, uploaded your cover, indicated this, identified, your pricing, then you actually log into your Amazon account. So I'm just gonna log in. And then once you are in, after you get your two-step verification, let's get a text on this number instead. Okay. Okay, one moment. Okay. Uh-oh. All right, let's try this a different way. One moment. Okay, here you go. Okay, so once you put in your verification, then here is where you can set your price. So as you can see, you can price a book as high as $250. Now it's really up to, if the value of your book is there, but you can, the minimum it has to be able to cover the cost. So you'll notice that this book, when it's set at $4.60, it covers a $2.50 printing cost, and then everything else is the price that Amazon receives for publishing your book, for all of the processing fees. So you are essentially getting a royalty of 50%, but it's only when you price the book at you get 60% royalty when you price the book at $10 or more. So you'll see what happens when you adjust this price. So let's say we take it to $10 even, then you'll see that now it has a 60% royalty rate. Now, if you have a book that is not low content, right, meaning that it's not a workbook and it has content, it has chapters, it has pages, and just a published work, here you go. Then you can do expanded distribution. Expanded distribution, what does that mean? That means that you can have your book in online retailers and libraries, universities, booksellers. That means that they buy your book in bulk And even though the rate is lower, you're able to get more of your book in front of people, because again, they buy it in bulk. They buy it in a huge bulk. And you can just, click if you want this done. If you don't want it done, totally fine. And then you'll see the price change as you update it, right? So now every book is now at the $20 rate, earning almost $10. If I do $30, then it's making, over 15. So just something to think about as you are publishing your book and what you want that price to be. Your price, you don't even have to change it in any other market unless you want to, but it's always going to have a minimum of what it can be, and it's usually relative to the United States dollar. So it's usually the equivalent of that unless you price it elsewhere. And then once you're all done, I'm not going to click this because I don't want this book published, but you would click publish your book. And like I said, it takes up to 72 hours. I've seen some of these books, if all of the formatting is perfect, it can be published within 24 hours. And by clicking publish, of course, you're agreeing to be in compliance with the KDP terms and conditions. I highly recommend reviewing it to see everything that KDP does versus other publishing companies. Again, the caveat is that, as you've seen, I paid $0 to publish this book. There are absolutely other publishing companies that take less royalties, but you do have to pay upfront costs. And you also don't have the access to the billions of people around the world as Amazon KDP. I personally love Amazon KDP. I love how relatively easy they make it to become a published author. They also make it, as, I don't want to say difficult, but as detailed as you would want a published work to feel, right? You don't want it to feel as though you're just able to upload anything, right? No, they make sure that everything is polished that comes through there. So this is the process to upload a book on Amazon. It's, like I said, it's free. Everyone has access to this. I wanted to really use this time to share more knowledge about this because anybody can be an author. Everyone should be an author, right? As easy as it is to make a post on Facebook is as easy as it is to become an author and be able to generate an income, to be able to leave a legacy, and to be able to increase the amount of readers that we have in the world. And I truly believe that this is a calling that God has called me to do. So thank you for tuning in. Like I said, I will share some resources after this call, after the call. But if you're watching this recording, there's resources around here as well, and you'll receive them via email. But I, definitely want to thank you for taking the time out. I will stop the recording now and answer any questions that anybody may have for the next 5 minutes before I have to another conflict. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys may have.